was going to say we're focusing on speed over quality for this round of predictions, but as we know, there's never really much quality anyway, so we're just focusing on speed. Let's do predictions for match day round game week number 18 in this championship season. But before I start, I do have to start with a little joke, which is also my golden rule. Oxford always win. Yes, I know my 5-0 prediction against Sheffield United looks a bit silly now, but I'm telling you, for 10 minutes in that game, it was on. It was on. Let's see if Oxford can get a win this week. It's time for predictions. And we start with a gargantuan game at Bramall Lane for Sheffield United versus Sunderland. This should be a cracking match. I'm not expecting a ton of goals in this one, but it is two top sides going head to head, so it is a box office affair. Sunderland fans, you've got to be a little bit worried going into this one, haven't you? You've not been in great form at all, dropping a lot of points, a lot of draws, where games where you would have liked to have thought you'd have won some of those drawn games, that is for sure. And you're coming up against a Sheffield United side who are not only in excellent form, but they're in excellent form at Bramall Lane. Bramall Lane. There you go. They give you absolutely nothing, and I can attest to that as they beat my Oxford United side 3-0, and it was an absolute canter for the Blades. And I do have to just side with Chris Wilder's men in this one. They're so watertight at the back, and I think this will be quite a tight game. An interesting game, but not a goal fest, that's for sure. And I think Sheffield United will come out on the right side of this narrow contest, and I'm going for a narrow win for the Blades. Sheffield United 1, Sunderland 0. Middlesbrough versus Hull City is next up, and Middlesbrough go back into the category of I have no idea how to predict Middlesbrough games. I was expecting them to put on another show against Blackburn, but it was anything but, and we'll give Blackburn the praise they deserve as we get to their section of the video. But it was very lacklustre from Borough and very much indicative of why this is a side maybe pushing for playoffs and not necessarily automatic promotion, because they do throw in those unpredictable, annoying games where they are just off the boil. And they're coming up against a Hull side who you would think they should roundly, soundly beat. But it is a Hull side that might have a new spring in their step after Tim Volter has been relieved of his services. It just was not working, was it, Hull fans? And this is kind of the game you don't really want to start your new manager bounce, because it is going to be a tough one against a wounded Borough side. But whenever I predict Borough to win, they normally don't win. So take solace in that one. But I am backing Borough to get a victory. Middlesbrough 2, Hull City 1. Oxford United versus Millwall is undoubtedly the game of the weekend. I am sure you will all agree. And my goodness, my Yellows are struggling in this championship season. It's been a really tough run of games, run of form, tough games to watch as well. That Sheffield United game was really just felt the step up in class, and Oxford just could not compete with the Blades when the Blades turned it on, and they didn't need to turn it on for long, let me tell you. So it is worrying times for Des Buckingham's men, and we're looking at this one as a game. It's not must win, but you feel it's really important that Oxford get something from this game against Millwall. It's a game that's more manageable, but certainly not going to be easy, because Neil Harris has got this Millwall side fighting for their lives. They didn't play the game against Portsmouth in midweek because of floodlight failure, so they're still riding high after that last gasp equaliser against Sunderland, and this is going to be anything but easy for my boys, but we really do need to find that victory, and of course I have to back the Yellows in this one. Somehow, some way, we're going to get the job done. Oxford United 1, Millwall 0. Watford versus QPR. How about that, QPR fans? You got a victory. You got an away victory. Fantastic job. And that is going to hopefully, well, not hopefully from my point of view, but hopefully from your point of view, breathe life into your season now. But this isn't going to be an easy game coming up against a Watford side who are excellent on their own patch and usually do turn it on when they're at Vicarage Road. And whilst there is going to be a renewed spirit in this QPR side, I do still think Watford will get the job done here, and I think it's going to be a narrow victory for the Hornets. Watford 2, QPR 1. Blackburn Rovers versus Leeds United. This should be a really interesting game at Ewood Park. Leeds United are flying. They're in great form. A remarkable victory against Swansea, backed up with a very routine win over Luton Town. So the Whites are looking every bit title promotion contenders, but do not back against this John Eustace Blackburn Rovers side. They are extremely well organised, and the performance I watched them play against Middlesbrough gave me so much encouragement that they can get a result against this Leeds side. They were organised, they were compact, and they still carried a goal threat on the break. John Eustace is a superb manager. Surely, no disrespect, Blackburn fans, he is destined for bigger and brighter things. But I do feel that Rovers are going to get a point in this game. I don't think Leeds are going to be able to win this game at Blackburn, and I think Rovers are going to end up getting a draw. I think it's going to be Blackburn Rovers 1, Leeds United 1. Bristol City versus Plymouth Argyle. This looks like it's going to be the biggest banker on paper of the weekend. Bristol City going well at the moment, going well at Ashton Gate. Plymouth Argyle just look atrocious on the road. Wayne Rooney said he should have played the under-18s in the game against Norwich and they would have done a better job. It was a pitiful performance, really, and you've had a few pitiful performances on the road. Let's be fair, Plymouth fans. And you can't be thinking this is going to be winnable at all at Bristol City, despite it being somewhat of a derby game or a closer game than you usually have to travel to. I just can't see Plymouth getting anything from this game, and I can see it being an easy, comfortable win for Liam Manning's men. Bristol City 3, Plymouth Argyle 0. Coventry City versus Cardiff City. Well, Coventry is still very much kicking their heels over the new manager appointment, but they're doing a decent job in the meantime until they put one in. If it's going to be Frank Lampard, I've got to say, I really do worry for the Sky Blues. But the Bluebirds are in town for this one, and it's a Bluebird side who are very much struggling themselves, and their fans will be close to rock bottom, I would have thought, after that defeat to QPR. They would have all thought they should have won that game. And it's a Coventry side that have got far more quality than that QPR side, so I would be very fearful for the Bluebirds in this one, and I'm going to go for another comfortable home win. Coventry City 3, Cardiff City 1. Norwich City versus Luton Town. Again, I'm just going to be fancying another big home win for this one. Norwich seem to have got their groove back. A thumping and resounding victory over a hapless Plymouth Argyle side. Borges Sainz ramming in the goals once again. Luton looked pretty woeful on the road. Let's be fair, they had a very tough, bruising defeat to Leeds up in Yorkshire. They won't fancy this trip over to Norfolk to face the Canaries, that is for sure. And I just can't look at anything other than a Norwich victory in this one. And who knows what that means for Rob Edwards. But good times for Norwich are back in town. Norwich City 4, Luton Town 1. Preston North End versus West Bromwich Albion. Well, why would you back anything other than a draw when West Brom are in town? They are the draw kings. In fact, they are the draw masters. If there's a draw to be had, West Brom will find that draw. What is going on, Baggies fans? Why can't you find victories in this game? Although a draw against Sunderland is a pretty decent result, and I just don't think that this is going to be an entertaining game at all. Preston are struggling as well. Heckingbottom will just try and make this game tight. Carlos Corberán does nothing but make games tight, and this one is probably just going to be settled by the odd goal. It probably will end up being a draw again, but I'm going to go for the Baggies just to edge it. Preston 0, West Brom 1. Stoke City versus Burnley. Now, I'm still not convinced by this Burnley side. Yes, they're picking up results, and yes, they're a very hard side to beat. You would expect that, but they're not playing with the swagger or the style that you're seeing of some of the other promotion contenders. And I just think they're coming up against a Stoke side who I do think are in a pretty good run of form. And I think this is going to be one where Burnley are going to drop points. But I've been backing Burnley to drop points for a while now, and they've been picking up those victories. So maybe they're going to prove me wrong once again. They did actually score more than one goal in the last game, which was a bit of a novel occasion. But I do think Stoke are good enough to get a point in this one, and that is what I'm going for. I'm going for Stoke City 1, Burnley 1. Swansea City versus Portsmouth. Let's see if this game's played, because Portsmouth just don't seem to be able to get any luck when it comes to playing games at the moment. A game called off against Blackburn because of the flooding, and then flood-like failure against Millwall means that it's a well-rested Portsmouth side, but one that would probably rather have played those games and have them backed up later on in the season. And Swansea are looking pretty good at the moment. They had a good result over Derby. They looked pretty good against Leeds as well, but they were just very unlucky to concede that last gasp goal for Leeds after they themselves scored a last gasp equaliser. So I do fancy the Swans, and I think the Swans are going very well under Luke Williams. I think this is going to be another one where they narrowly beat a promotion contender, like they beat Oxford, like they beat Derby. I'm going to go for the same scoreline. Swansea City 2, Portsmouth 1. And we end on Sunday at the baseball ground for Derby versus Sheffield Wednesday.
Come on, Wednesday!
And I think this one should be a pretty good game. Derby looking pretty good at home. I know they've just lost to Swansea, but they got sucker punched early on by the Swans, but they certainly had chances to get back into that game. They just couldn't take them. But Sheffield Wednesday will fancy themselves to get back-to-back victories on the road. Still very inconsistent under Danny Roll. You don't know what Wednesday is going to turn up, but I do think that they're going to be able to get a point in this one. I do actually think it's going to be quite an entertaining game, and I'm going for a high-scoring draw. This is my Desmond on a Sunday afternoon. Derby County 2, Sheffield Wednesday 2. That's it, folks. That's week number 18 in the bag. Thank you very much for all the support you give on these videos. Let me know your predictions down below and let me know your thoughts on my crazy and wild comments. We're moving into December now. Getting close to Christmas, but there's plenty more games to predict. I'll be back to do a review of Oxford's hopefully win over Millwall, and then there'll be more predictions next week. Thanks very much. I'll see you soon.
My work is done here.
What do you mean your work is done? You didn't do anything.
Didn't I?